Preludes 12 has arrived, and it's a big one. Founders packs are live, we got new runes, new totems, new weapons, a round of Pact balance changes, an improved new player experience, and on top of all that, an entirely new game mode. So let's dive in. Let's start with what's actually new on the gameplay front, the Cogah Difficulty. So how do we start this? As a requirement, you need to finish the Brewer of Use quest and level Verminia to at least level 1 in the Nighthold. After that, the process is straightforward. Defeat Agari on the map. That's the new name for sub-bosses going forward. And they will drop an Agari mushroom you can pick up. If you gather enough of those, plus enough Wevet Root sap, you can craft one Cogah potion. Crafting takes 2 hours. You can't queue multiple, but you can speed it up with premium currency. On screen you will see a few locations where sap trees can spawn, and there are probably more. Once it's ready, you drink the potion to activate Cogah Mode. When you enter, Midrat shifts into a hazier, more threatening version of itself. This area debuffs your envoy and buffs your enemies. And after every Agari you kill, your foes get stronger. In Cogah Mode, the Agari hit far harder, your cooldowns are massively prolonged, you find fewer healing potions and your abilities are weaker. Their level keeps rising. Agari will respawn during Cogah Mode if you stay locked in for the full 3 hours. This way you could start a second cycle on the same potion, if you can handle that. This mode ends if you die in an Agari fight or if you retreat from one. You really don't want to die here. Here are a few head-up tips if you want to tackle that solo. Healing pacts help a lot. Shelter and Garren Root can both save you from big mistakes. If you feel insecure, these two are worth considering. Max out Everbound and Sympathy on every pact you bring. Enemies hit harder and harder. Running around with 200 HP is not an option anymore. And you want every bit of healing you can get. Skipping these 2 skill nodes makes the mode much harder. Once enemies get high enough, trash mobs with area attacks become extremely dangerous. They can stagger you and deplete half of your HP with one attack. It can be an instant death sentence. Kill them first. Flyblade plus Duck Totem is one of the strongest tools you have. The offhand Flyblade combined with the Duck Totem in your offensive slot will slow and potentially paralyze everything caught by your orbital Flyblade attack. Don't fully charge it, or the radius becomes so wide that you won't hit melee enemies reliably. A few Cogah bosses can't be paralyzed this way. It doesn't work on Discharged Nimrod for example, but many others can be shut down completely by staying in melee range while the blades orbit. Highly mobile Agari like Wraith of the Wastes or the Gruul Seeker become trivial when they can't play Catch Me If You Can anymore. This maneuver gives you more control than most Pact abilities. You can reactivate it the moment the blades return, and the slow can be reapplied constantly. The only situation where you shouldn't rely on this is when enemies are immune, like Nimrod. In that case, skip it. And on top of that, you can use the orbiting blades as a cheap healing tool. Run into trash mobs, let them spin for a moment, wait for a smite proc and heal yourself to full. Bosses hit like a truck in melee. If you can't paralyze them, keep your distance. Thrown spears or charged bow shots work extremely well against heavy hitters like Nimrod. Trying to clear Cogah without slows and without ranged options is much harder. If you want a real challenge, well, now you know how to get it. Bows have been buffed, and I mean by a lot. Headshots now deal major damage to bosses even without rune enhancements. They are also incredibly strong in sieges against the surrounding archers. But the real highlight is the new bow rune. It drops a mini arrow rain wherever your shot lands. If you spam it with rapid firing shots, all those tiny needles ramp up quickly and do devastating damage, even against Agari. So is the all-powerful brain of arrow rain spam back? The one that can delete everything without a second thought? Not really. All that godlike power depends completely on having smiteable enemies for the rune, or at least a clean weak spot you can hit for headshots. If you can't land headshots and you can't charge your rune, the bow falls off a cliff hard. Elred the Weaver says hi. Preludes 11 killed the old bow meta. Preludes 12 introduced a new rune-powered arrow hail. The old bow meta is dead. Long live the conditional bow meta. It's really strong until it isn't. The alternative? Yeah, you guessed it. The almighty polearm, with its new and shiny, more throwing damage totem, is back. What's not to love about a monstrous melee weapon that hits so hard when thrown that enemy armor becomes an abstract concept? No, really, bow, spear and flyblades. Everything else felt bland so far. Tell me your experiences. But there's more. Cogah Mode comes with unique rewards, new runes with powerful effects and new talismans that grant specific buffs while you are in Cogah Mode. Alright, now that you have a few heads up on how to clear Cogah solo, let's take a look at how our pacts have changed. A big one first. Your abilities no longer get interrupted by enemy attacks. This is huge. Some of the animations are so long that you were constantly in danger of losing casts. This change smoothes out gameplay a lot. They also added some pretty horrible camera effects that automatically turn your view while casting abilities and sometimes even make you fire in the wrong direction. Not exactly a great change. Hopefully get fixed soon. Then they said there were a number of adjustments to range and duration across all pacts. Nothing massive on most of them, but noticeably here and there. For example, Siren's Glamour Shapeshift seemed to last shorter even on the Spirit build. Small things like that, and probably more testing needed. The 3 starter packs also got a virtue scaling rebalance, but there are no details and nothing you would easily notice just by playing around with them. But they also made actual changes to Ode Tempest, Mora and Garren Root. Here's what's new. First off, the Stormbringer, the all-powerful Ode Tempest, has been sent straight into the guillotine. It got nerfed hard. There really isn't much left except a corpse of its former self. Ode Tempest now specializes in stagger damage caused by voltaic damage. Astra Sphere no longer quadruple your general damage against non-boss enemies. Instead, they boost your stagger damage, if you deal any. And Atmosphere, you know, the ability that used to make you completely immune to 13 incoming hits, now just increases your armor a bit. Armor that definitely does not protect you from being two-shot by high-level Agari. Atmosphere also gives you the ability to deal stability damage with parries and reflections, and can knock non-boss enemies over. These reflected hits can trigger smite opportunities too. But getting hit reduces the duration massively, so in practice, once you get hit, it lasts only a few seconds. Increased damage? Gun. Damage immunity? Gun. In return, a mediocre armor increase that falls off quickly and a buff to stagger damage. I need to test it more to form a final opinion, but currently it feels like a contender for the lowest ranks in the next tier list. Next, Mora's Hand. It also has been nerfed. Its usability increased. They finally recognized how dependent the kit was on smite and baked some extra smite proc opportunities directly into its abilities. They also made it possible for you to actually receive the damage buff from Hungry Flame to trigger from your own abilities. And they significantly buffed Inferno's damage and Igno's Frost damage. But they also removed your ability to crowd control enemies entirely. I mean, that was literally the one thing that made Mora's Hand not complete garbage. Replaced by a mid damage buff. You can bet the lower end of the next tier list is going to be very crowded. Oh boy. And then there's Garren Root, which was, well, both buffed and nerfed. This one is more complicated, so here's the short version. He has great area damage now, really good, but only against trash mobs with low armor. Against high armor Agari, it sits between mid damage and outright bad, depending on the enemy. His Radial Blind is now a relatively short range, 3 seconds stun at best, and it leaves a lingering debuff that increases smite chance when enemies get attacked. Definitely not game changing. And remember Torment, that incredibly useful heal? It now deals damage even to Agari, not only to trash mobs, which is good, but it also scales both its damage and its healing based on the target's remaining percentage HP. If they only have 30% HP left, you basically get 10% heal and deal a few points of damage. It's far less reliable at saving you in bad situations. TLDR, better versus trash, worse in keeping you alive. But to be honest, it actually felt strong during Cogah testing. Not bad at all for a first impression. And yeah, those are the pack changes. So aside from Founders, the new difficulty mode and all the pack changes, what else is new? We got a completely new weapon type, Greatswords. Paragon is available through Founders, Purity should be obtainable from the Mendicant King, and Needleseye should come from Faction Tail rewards. They improved the new player experience and added the option to test each of the starter packs before locking in your first choice. There's also better tutorialization for systems like Spectral Sight, the Spirit Guide and the general early game flow. A new set of Agari is supposed to spawn inside dungeons, but I haven't seen any of them yet. We also got fast travel. After finishing the Wastebear Fable, a plant appears in the Nighthold that gives you 1 Wevet Seed per day. So if you're anything like me, you will hoard them for months, never use a single one, and the moment you finally feel ready to spend one, DE changes the system to make it more accessible. There is a new siege at Fort Curlail. This time you use a Biscularm after beating the first Agari to break open the gates, then slay another Agari, make your way up the tower and use a zipline to reach the torch. Sieges are now ranked. Depending on the Agari kills and revives, you get a challenge rating at the end. You also gain Infamy, which fills a bar slowly. Supposedly, this will become a system that increases Ode aggression in future updates, but yes, we can already start making them angry. And this is especially nice for new players. They rebalanced the rewards from Faction Tales and limited the time-demanding Dungeon Tales to 3 stars only. It was a mind-numbing grind for those of us who did it earlier. Now there's a bigger selection of offerings, including start boosting 1-hour elixirs, new talismans and much better quest to reward ratio. Enjoy it. Runes got split. Instead of having 1 rune for all melee weapons and 1 for flyblades and magic weapons, we now have separate runes for each individual weapon type. New totems were added too. For example, I found one that increases throwing damage and one that restores a bit of your spirit ability cooldown. They are slowly adding more ways to fine-tune builds. The Collector event is now a timed boss encounter. It's no longer attached to Faction Tales and instead can spawn independently every 6 hours in some regions. There are more UI improvements as well. Crosshair and compass can now be toggled to always remain visible, possibly the most important feature of the entire update. And that's it. A small step for an envoy, a big step for DE. Soulframe is now a game with paying and potentially very angry customers. Enjoy your journey in Midrath, envoys. And if you want to see more Soulframe content, a like and a sub